you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Josh Sinclair. I am the director of Beetlejuice Jr. at the Tennessee Valley Theater.
Okay. So Josh has grown up in the theater.
Sure
Have you done other places besides this theater?
Yeah, growing up, I do a lot of like church plays and stuff like that. There were a few like community productions that I do in like Kansas and stuff. You know, I wasn't really conscious enough to remember what I was doing, but pretty much everything I've done has been here. I've done some stuff for like the school, like the high school in Ray County, but just a lot of like smaller roles in like church shows and school stuff like that.
It's a cool transition when you go from being, the kid on the stage to the one holding the clipboard.
Oh yeah.
And since you grew up in the theater, then you have like an insider perspective of most first-time directors, most seasoned directors don't have. And you know exactly what these teens are feeling because you were there.
I was those
teens,
teens,
and now you're the director. So what is the biggest thing you noticed about a show once you stepped off the stage and behind the production table?
Yeah, so whenever I was like in the like the actual program as an actor, as a performer, as opposed to like not like being off stage how I am now, I was kind of like wonder why things just weren't as easy and why they wouldn't just flow as easy. And I'd be like, well, the director should do this, the director should do this, and now that I am the director, it's like it's a little hard to juggle a billion tasks at once.
It is very hard. How does having grown up in the wings change the way you talk to your actors?
Yeah, so it's great because my mentality for this entire show has been I want to direct as somebody who's been here my entire life basically, and I can use that information to see what would help these people the most and what they want to hear because I've been in those shoes before and I know what I don't like hearing and I know what does help me and I'm trying to use things that have helped me in the past to improve now. Like a few weeks back we did a rehearsal where I called in a few old directors that I've had, a few old cast members that I've worked with, and they were kind of like the test audience because some of the people in this show have never had an audience like that before.
Gotcha.
And so I thought it would be nice for them to perform in front of their first audience and also sort of get an insight as to like an audience point of view, sort of tips that I couldn't give them. And they really appreciated that. So,
really
I would have loved to have had something like that for my first time having a big role, which was Donkey a lifetime ago. So...
Is there a specific director that you had as a kid whose style you want to emulate or totally avoid?
Emulate, that's an easy one. My first show I ever did here, I was directed by Jamie McIntosh. And Jamie McIntosh was just the light of my life for when I first started at the TVT. He was a former theater kid who also grew up with the TVT. And he was just so nice to me. He took a chance on me. And it was my first time ever doing anything really big here, and he's like, come here. And so that was really neat. So I've tried very much, and he was also very welcoming and very polite, and he was both stern, but he was also a friend to us, and I always really appreciate that. So I've been trying to emulate that as best as I can, especially for our first-time people, because, some directors, I will not name them, but some directors that I've had, or just people who are in charge, I feel like they're kind of pushing people away, and I don't want that.
I agree. You don't want to scare them off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, oh, crap, all these directors are crazy.
I've always been super passionate about theater, and so, like, what actually inspired me to want to, because I want to pursue, I want to teach theater for a living. What made me want to pursue that was an incident happened in high school where a bunch of the people in the theater program wanted to leave because they just did not feel appreciated. And that broke my heart because as someone who's in theater, I never want to see someone lose their passion like that. I don't think a spark should be dimmed. I think it should be fanned so it can turn into a beautiful place.
That's awesome. Teens can be so hard. How do you balance being the cool mentor with being the authentic figure who needs to keep rehearsals on track?
Yeah. So I will be very honest in the sense that sometimes I find myself talking to the teens as if I am one, but because especially with some of the older people in the cast, like I've been in shows with them before, so it's like where I'm like this with quite a few people in the cast, but I also it is very difficult to balance that because they're talking about like stuff that's happening in high school, and I'm like, oh, tell me more, but it's like I can't tell me more when we have to get on stage.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty difficult, but the way that I've been managing it is just Typically, like, during the rehearsal hours of 6:30 to 8:30, I'm very much go director mode. And then anytime before that or after that, that's when I'm willing to be friendly Josh or whatever. Not that I just consider myself a pretty friendly director. But, you know, I'm stern, but I'm not too stern that they're scared of me.
What's one thing you wish your directors understood about being a teen actor that you're trying to implement now?
One thing that irritated me growing up was I felt like I had a lot of ideas. You know, since I was like not a child anymore and I was like a teenager, I had a lot of ideas for what I wanted to do with my character and like plural characters that I ever played. And I felt like people just kind of like laughed it off because I was just a kid to them still. And so I guess the easiest answer to that is just treat the teens like real people and not like they're babies, because they've been in theater long enough to know what they like.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to just dismiss them because you're the director and you're in position of power. But listening to your actors and trying to find a blend of what you want and what they're comfortable doing is how you make a good show.
What was the most surprising challenge you hit during the first week of rehearsal?
So I know nothing about music. Like I mean, like I know the very surface level amount that I learned from high school choir or whatever, but like the first real week of like blocking that we did, it was a lot. The show starts with a lot of songs, so I couldn't really tell them how to sing it. I'm also not a dancer, so the choreography. I'm like, just kind of there. And so, you know, luckily I have the absolute honor of working with Erin Couch, and she has done a phenomenal job with the choreography. So, you know, hats off to her. But that was probably my biggest struggle for that.
How are you helping your cast to build confidence outside of just hitting their marks, just being where they're supposed to be?
I do I do pretty annual check-ins with some of them. Like I'm a very observant person, and so, you know, I can kind of see when some of them are stressed out. And so I'll message them individually, like after rehearsal, I'll be like, hey, I noticed you seemed a little down today. Like what can I do to like make you feel better or whatever? And just reassurance is a very simple one. Just, you know, reassuring them that I gave them this role because they deserved it.
Yeah.
And so my goal is just establishing to them, hey, you deserve this role.
Yeah.
So, you know, walk it like you deserve this role. And so just reassurance has been the easy. Reassurance and just little check-ins here and there. Yeah. Is really helpful.
What do you hope that they take away from the production besides just claps from the audience?
I hope I'm going to go back to my little ember to a flame thing I said earlier. I hope that my first time performers from this show, I hope they stick around. And even if it's not at the TBT, I would love for them to just keep their passion that they have and the skills that they learned and realize they can do this, they can perform, and just sort of let that, you know, turn into a bright little inferno, and hopefully people can love theater as much as I do, you know.
So I'm curious, do you have any theater horror stories, like your costume? I know in Little Shop of Horrors we had some issues.
Yeah, a
few, but other than Little Shop of Horrors, do you have any, like, you know, your costume ripped or you flushed your costume that happened? Somebody went to the bathroom and they flushed the toilet and there it went, you know?
Okay, let me think. So one that comes to mind is I did a show a few years back called Dear Brutus, and it's like a story written by the guy who did Peter Pan or whatever. It's not as popular for good reason, but there was I wore these dress shoes during the show, and they were kind of like, they were loose and flappy, so we decided we were gonna hot glue it back on, and so I was holding it in the dark in a dimly lit area, and just a whole thing of hot glue all over my hand. And this was during intermission, which meant I still had Act 2. So, and I opened Act 2.
Oh my goodness.
So that sucked.
Yeah.
That's one for sure. Another one is, I have two other ones that I can think of off the top of my head. There was a performance we did a few years back. We did this musical called The Grunch, and the power went out mid-performance. Luckily for us, we all stopped and somehow, by the grace of God, collectively just met and finished off the note.
That's good.
We finished the song, and that was really neat. Yeah. But it was still like, I don't think the lights came back on for like 45 minutes.
Oh, gosh.
So it's just, everyone's in the dark. We can't really do the show. Well, they thought about doing refunds, but then lights came back on.
That's good.
Then during, a few years back, Spring City had a really nasty flood. We were doing The Secret Garden at the time, and the theater flooded. And we opened in 2 weeks from that day. So luckily the Presbyterian Church down the road, shout out them, they opened their doors for us to use, but that was a nightmare in of itself. Because we're already used to this really big stage, and now we're having to get used to this really small, tiny stage. We figured it out though.
Yeah, that's good. What is your dream role? My
dream role? Okay, so for the longest time it was Orin in Little Shop of Horrors, and I got to do that.
Yes.
But I think I've always said, in my little pretentious actor self, I said a true actor will be fine with whatever role they are given.
Yeah, but
with that being said, I would love to be William Shakespeare in Something Rotten.
I have to keep that one in mind, Josh. Well, thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
Can you remind everyone the dates for Beetlejuice?
Last weekend of February, first weekend of March.
It's February 27th through the March the 8th.
February 27th through March the 8th. Thank you.
Tickets are on sale on the website right now.
Yes, they are.
Thank you again.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you.